Hello, it's Gill Fielding here, and this is what's caught my eye in the media this week. Well, I've been a property investor for 40 odd years, and about 20 years ago, Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen was the bane of my life because he was on the telly quite a lot in lime green suits and all kinds of stuff, educating the populace about property makeovers and decoration and so on. And of course, he was a fan of the vibrant colour and the oranges and the purples and whatever. And so lots of people had those colour schemes in their homes. And when I bought the property as an investment, I spent an awful lot of time 20 years ago painting magnolia walls over lime green and so on. Now, I love the fact he wears lime green for a suit, but I'm not sure it suits a property. And we do have evidence that those vibrant colours diminish the value of a property. And so what was the bane of my life was also the greatest opportunity, because by painting over the lime green walls and painting them magnolia, I was actually increasing the value of the property. So both a plus and a minus from Lawrence at that stage. So it made me laugh when I read in the press this week that he's applied for planning permission to build a studio flat in the grounds of his home. And the council have approved the planning permission on condition that the property, the studio, the extension, whatever it is painted flake grey. Flake grey? I can't imagine what Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen thinks of flake grey, but whether he likes the colour or not, he should appreciate the fact that it will actually maintain the value of his property, whereas painting it purple might not. So quite an interesting story. The next thing frightened me, and it was about Bitcoin, and there was some research done by an organisation called Oxford Risk, which suggested that 36% of people that had bought Bitcoin didn't understand what it was or what it did or why it was or what happened. And that's terrifying. Why people are investing their savings and putting their necks and shirts on the line for something they don't understand, I will never know. And most people claim that they bought Bitcoin because there were press headlines about the price rises. Well, that might be exactly the wrong time to buy, because if the price has gone up, you don't buy at the top, you buy at the bottom, not at the top, you sell at the top. So there's a fundamental investment misunderstanding there. Which scares me, and it just goes to show that education eliminates risk, because these people are buying off a newspaper headline and not understanding the risks of the product or what they're buying or what they're investing in. Which is why property does tend to be the #1 investment for most average people, certainly in the UK, because everybody knows what it is, because everybody lives somewhere. You can see it, look at it, kick it, poke it, and so on. And so you know exactly what it is. With Bitcoin, that's not the same. So if you are thinking of investing in Bitcoin, please get educated first, otherwise you could lose your shirt. Financial education is a big thing for me, and I've been delighted to see that the credit card companies are now extending and improving their terms for customers, for credit cards particularly, as they all strive to get new business after the pandemic. And you can now get interest-free periods of nearly 2 years, in fact, and fees are reducing and interest-free periods are extending. And credit cards are doing everything they can to attract our custom. What I would say about financial education is that hopefully you wouldn't take out one of these deals unless you understood what it was, because there can be hidden penalties there if you don't know what you're looking for. So please be careful if you're accepting one of these fantastic, juicy new deals. But of course, on the other hand, you probably wouldn't get the juicy new deal unless you understood about how money works, because these deals will only be available to those people with great credit files, positive credit scores, clean credit reports, and so on. So the more work you do on maintaining your credit file, improving your credit score, will mean that you get better finance deals when they're available. So education is really a great investment, because you save money later on the borrowing. So get yourself educated and get some great deals. Now, one investment that caught my eye this week was the stamp. And apparently the highest price has ever been paid for a single stamp and it was a British Guyana 1 cent or something, and it's been sold for 6.2 million and bought by Stanley Gibbons, the stamp people, on behalf of a group of investors. And this stamp came across the Atlantic this week, surrounded by bodyguards and so on, because obviously it's so valuable. But it's tiny. It's a little tiny thing, and it's worth 6.2 million. And as well as it being very small, it has to be kept at a certain temperature and in certain light conditions. So broadly, it has to be kept in semi-darkness. And it made me think, well, you may be a part owner of the most expensive stamp in the world, but if you can't really see it because the lights aren't on, is that a valuable investment? So is an investment if you can't look at it? That's a weird one. I'll leave you to ponder on that one for a few days. And finally, I'm not really going to talk about football for obvious reasons, but I just did want to mention a TV programme that I'd watched this week with Gareth Southgate, the England football manager, talking to Toto Wolff, the manager of the Mercedes Formula One racing team. And these two gentlemen sat down together to discuss the nature of leadership. And there were some very common definitions between these two men. There's honesty, integrity, doing what you say, empathizing with the people you're working with, putting them first rather than yourself. There were lots of common strands. And if you're interested in leadership, I urge you to have a look at the programme on Catch Up. But what occurred to me watching these two men talk is that neither one of them were what I call a shouter. They're not hugely animated. They weren't jumping out of their chairs. They were thoughtful, intelligent, empathetic, gentle communicators. And it led me to back to the conclusion about the different definitions of commitment versus motivation. Motivation is full of rah and excitement, and everybody gets overexcited and jumps out of their chair and whatever. But of course, the motivation soon diminishes. Commitment is something that is perhaps less noisy and less exciting, but is the thing that keeps you going. So if you're a property investor, commitment is the thing that's going to get you out of bed on a wet, cold Tuesday morning to go and look at a property somewhere. Motivation might not hack it. So commitment over motivation always wins for me. And these two men, Toto Wolff and Gareth Southgate, definitely had commitment in spades. It was wonderful to see and a very nice conversation. Watch it on Catch Up if you're interested in leadership. But two great men doing great things in the sporting world at the moment. So I really enjoyed that. I hope you enjoy it. Keep thinking about, is an investment if you can't look at it? Ponder on that for a few days, and I'll see you again next week.